guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a review of the Duelpad Flatbox Ultra, and this is a 3D printed controller here we're going to look at. So let's go ahead and see what we got in the box here. We're going to open this up. Got a pad here, and what do we have? So we have our thank you letter, we have our QR code to other products, we have our instructions here for the Flatbox Ultra, so we got all that. Right. We have our charger cable, which is a standard, USB to USB C, and we have our key puller, or switch puller here, right? Let's get that out of the way. Let's get the box out of the way. All right, let's see what we got. So when it comes to connecting this pad to your PlayStation 5 or Xbox, for the Xbox, you do not want to buy the Brooks. This is no longer supported. As soon as you plug this in, you get an error from Microsoft, so don't buy that. You want to get the Mayflash for Xbox, right? This device here seems to work just fine. When it comes to PS5, you can get the Mayflash, or you can get the Brooks adapter, and they both work just fine. All right, so let's see what we got here. So we have a 3D printed pad. So they have their L3 on the left here on your pinky, and they have their R3 that kind of sits on your thumb, just like the larger Duelpad A16. Right, so when you put your fingers on here, I have very big hands. I wear a XXX glove, so it is not cramped to me. It's not as tight as some of the other controllers I'll pull out. So usually when I do a smaller one, the buttons are closer together, and I'll measure it out, but it looks to me like this is the button spacing and layout of the A16, just with smaller keycaps instead of the larger keycaps. So if you like a smaller button but a little bit of space, this is probably what you're looking for. And again, if you're looking at 3D printed controllers, you're probably just getting into the market, trying to figure out what you want to do, what you want to buy, and you're just kind of starting here. So we'll kind of look at it from that perspective, right? So it has all your action buttons here. And up here, it has the same thing on top. It has the same switches as the A16. So you have your D-pad setting, your SOCD setting, and your focus mode. So when you put in focus mode, it turns off all the lights and all the action buttons, and that way you can't hit anything by accident during a tournament or while you're fighting somebody. You can turn that back on. It has the SOCD switching, so you can switch all that up. And then it has the D-pad, so you can put in left stick, right stick, or D-pad. As you're moving around the menus on your game, you can just switch on the fly to kind of do different things. So let's put some things on the table and see what we got. All right, so first we've got the 3D printed controller that I started with on my leverless journey, right? So this was the initial controller I bought, and it was roughly 50 bucks when I bought it back then. I believe the price has come down now. This is roughly $50. Between the two, I would just say probably go with this one. It's wider and a little the same height, but it is about maybe an inch, or get our caps out here, right? Our trusty USB cable, so roughly, 2 silver pieces wider than this one, so it sits better on your lap. The buttons are roughly spaced out the same. These are slightly bigger. The only reason I'm kind of torn is when it came to this model, it came with the Chalk V1s, and I think anyone that watches my channel knows I'm not a fan of those switches. They have the 2 prongs that hold the buttons in place, and these are already getting loose they were loose after about a month of use, really. So this comes with your standard V2s with the plus sign in the middle. You can see just like all the other flat controllers, right? It has those, so that gets the job done. We'll kind of move this out the way here, and we'll compare it to the big boy, right? When you put it up against a joystick, here is the sizing that you got here, and you can see it is a very big difference, right? This is going to sit very flat and even on your lap. This is for a smaller controller, going to fit wide and flat too, which is kind of nice, but that's what you're looking at when you look at this device. We'll kind of put the height here, so we'll put it this way, and you can kind of get a glimpse there and see the difference in sizes and everything else. So that's pretty interesting. With that over here, let's get this out the way. All right, then we have an Xbox controller. So when you put that on the board here, it is slightly more narrow than an Xbox controller. You can kind of see it fits in between the grooves there. So it's about that wide and come over. It's about a controller and a half, right? And about that tall. So we'll put that over here. So next, let's pull out the Duelpad A16, right? We'll lay that here. And when we look at that, we can see it's roughly, 3 inches, shorter in height compared to the A16. When it comes to width, it is roughly, I'll put this on this side here, there we go. So about 2 inches, right? So 2 inches more narrow, 3 inches not as tall. So put that back. So when you're looking at the Flatbox Ultra, it's a smaller form factor of their larger device, right? So if I slide this down here, you can see it's almost roughly in line as far as the button height and the layout as this device. If I get a ruler and I space it out here, you can see that these buttons here from plus to plus are roughly 3 centimeters, right? I'll put this back here, and if we compare this one, we can see it is roughly, again, 3 centimeters. So what you're really looking at is, do I want a larger device with larger buttons all around, or do I want a smaller, more widespread device with the same layout, just with the smaller keycaps, where I have the bigger buttons on the bottom that match this device with the smaller keycaps on the top? And when you look at the other 3D printed controller that I have here, again, if I go from about middle to middle, it's 3 centimeters, right? You can kind of see that there. So it's kind of a standard layout that you'll find on other 3D printed controllers. It's just these buttons are slightly smaller than these. And I'll see if I can get that on camera. So that does make them a bit different. You can kind of tell there, right? And if you look at the measurements, you'll see the different measurements between the two. But that's how you can decide. If it came to between these two, and when it comes to price, I would point you to this one just because it has the L here, which is actually really convenient that I like on the A16, and it has the R3 over here, which this one does not have. Also, this device comes with the version 1 switches, which tend to bend and break after about a month, is what I found. So I personally like any pad that comes with the plus design is what I'm into, whereas these, hopefully it doesn't break on me. There you go. So it has the version 1, and what do you know? I just broke it. Right, so just like that, you can see, try to stay, in my personal opinion, try to stay away from devices running the V1s because the caps tend to break inside, or if you just, even if you're just playing, you just slide your fingers and you wiggle it, you will snap these 3D printed keycaps here, right? So I'll get out the way, whereas these are standard across most of the flatter controllers now, and you just kind of line up the plus and put it back, and you don't really have any issues. So let's kind of do a sound test. So see, here's the sound, the version 1s. Here's the version 2s. And the large dual pad. Right, so sound is what it is. Neither one is going to annoy anyone when you're playing the game. You're kind of having fun, so don't worry about that. So if you're on the fence between the different devices you see here, if you're looking for another 3D printed pad like the one I've tried in the beginning, I wouldn't recommend, simply because of the switches that come with this device. They're really not what you want to get right now. When it comes to this device here, it does come with the same software and hardware that's running in this one, so you will get all the customizations, all the different color lights, all those different things you can do with this board. You're really just comparing the size when you look at the two dual pad devices. If you're only considering 3D, I would consider this one because it is wider. It's going to sit better on your lap and on the desk. It has the extra L3 and R3 in a good position, so it feels comfortable when you're using it. The buttons are spaced out just as wide as this one, and it also has the buttons on top for the tournament mode, the SOCD switching, and the different modes for your left joystick, right joystick, or D-pad. So that's a review of the Flatbox Ultra. Thanks Duelpad for sending this out for review, and thanks for watching. Bye.